to be here in Dallas. I'm glad to be at a comedy club. We're not always. Sometimes we do weird things. Like earlier this year, I did stand up at a lawyers conference in Miami, and I don't know why either. I don't know. I guess they were like, this guy's got felons in his family. He knows lawyer stuff probably. So I did this lawyers conference. It was fine because honestly, there was a point in time in my life where I thought I might want to be a lawyer when I grew up because I had somehow got it in my head that lawyer is one of the only white collar jobs you can have when you talk like a racist banjo, right? Like I don't know if it's because of Atticus Finch or Matlock or what it is, but for some reason, people are okay with Southern lawyers. You know what I mean? It's all right to be a Southern lawyer. And I could see myself doing that as a kid. Like, I could see myself walking into court in a seersucker suit, just dabbing the prodigious whiskey sweat from my brow, like, from my grandpappy's handkerchief, you know, setting it down, hitting them with some old-timey nonsense. Like, Your Honor, if you think my client's going to spend one more night in the hoose gal, you crazy as a gravy-covered cat in a barnyard full of bloodhounds, you is. The jury's just like, this guy's too dumb to be duplicitous. I inherently trust this man. Not guilty, right? I could see that, but no, as it turns out, I'm not but a simple giggle monger as things happen. But yeah, I was in Miami in February, and right before that, I did stand up in Phoenix in January. And those two experiences combined led me to developing this new sociological theory I've been working on this year. And my theory is this. I think that the hot sun makes white people go insane. That's what I think. That's what I think happens. Because you think about all the parts of this country where the white people are the craziest, it's where the sun is the hottest, you know? It's like out west, it's Arizona, east of the Mississippi, it's the entire American South, you know? And even within the South, the maxim holds true. The further south you go, the hotter the sun is, the crazier the crackers are, right? Like you start out in Kentucky, Virginia, it's not so bad. You get to Alabama, it's like, ugh, and then you wind up in Florida and they're throwing alligators through drive-through windows and shit. These motherfuckers are crazy. You ain't supposed to be like that. I think it's the hot sun. I do think the hot part is important. I say that because I live in Southern California and like there's plenty of sun out there, but it's not hot for most of the year. For most of the year, it's like sunny and 72. And like the white people in LA, they're delusional, but they're not scary though, right? Like it's a different type of crazy. You know what I mean? But you leave LA, you start driving out east into the desert, they start to turn, man. They do. Like next thing you know, you're driving by Uncle Shooty's biker shop and Nazi stuff emporium. It's like, oh, this ain't good. Worrisome. I don't even think it has to be prolonged exposure to the hot sun. I think if the sun is hot enough, the effect can be acute in nature. Like, I think white people in the hot sun are like werewolves in the moonlight. Like, it just brings the monster out of us, you know? Like that you could take the most white bread, milk toast data analyst from Kalamazoo, you send him to Las Vegas for a weekend conference. By Sunday, he's standing out in the middle of the strip with his dick out like, fuck you, Sphinx! I bet the house at the roulette table and I don't give a fuck. It fucks us up, man. That's why I'm so worried about this recent trend of like white dude bros sunning their taints and stuff. Like I said, that's a real thing. Fox News talked about Tucker Carlson did a whole segment on it. It's a real thing. It's a real thing they're doing. They're like purposefully exposing their buttholes and their genitals and their taints and stuff to concentrated UV lights for like power-up purposes or something. And nothing good's gonna come out of that, man. Nothing. I'll tell you, you take a heavily bearded alpha male going through a divorce, he starts sunning his taint, next thing you know, Proud Boys. That's what happens. That's how the Proud Boys started. It's a problem. I don't think it's just an American problem, though. I think this is a global phenomenon. Like, for example, if you think about like England, right? Like in England, the sun is a myth, right? It's very gray, rainy. And you could say English white people, they've been evil and colonially over the years, but they're not crazy, though. No, they're not. They're very prim, proper, buttoned up. Yes, quite. That's how they are. But you take England, leave it in the hot sun for a couple hundred years, bam, Australia. That's what you get. Australia, aka the Florida of Oceania. Dude, I love Australians. They're a lot of fun, but they're down there fist fighting kangaroos and using the word cunt like a punctuation mark. This shit ain't normal. You ain't supposed to be like that. I think it's the hot. And there's one thing you can bring up to give me some issues with this. You could be like, well, Trae, what about like Russia, right? Russia, they got all them white people, no hot sun, crazy as a shithouse rat. How do you explain that, right? There's a couple ways of looking at that. You could look at that as like, yeah, my theory's dead in the water before we even get started. Or you could look at that as like, what if that's just their baseline, you know? It's like, what if that's just their starting point? Like imagine what might happen if we expose Russia to the hot sun for a while. Like, that's the real danger of climate change right there. We don't all start recycling more. It's going to be Mad Max and Adidas tracksuits in no time.